I took the job because I needed money. That's really all there is to it. It was posted online as a temporary overnight security position at a mall that had been closed for renovations. The pay was better than anything else I could find, and the description made it sound easy. Just sit, monitor cameras, and do a few patrols. The place was called Westbrook Mall. It had been shut down for almost a year after some kind of structural issue, but construction hadn't even started yet. From what I was told, they were just waiting on permits, which meant the building sat completely empty. No stores, no employees, no customers, just me. My first night was quiet, too quiet, honestly. The manager met me outside, handed me a set of keys, and gave me a quick rundown. He didn't even go inside with me, just pointed at the main entrance and said the security office was on the second floor near the old food court. Then he left. I remember standing there for a second, looking at the dark glass doors, wondering if I'd made a mistake. But I needed the money, so I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The air smelled stale, like dust and old carpet. The only lights on were emergency lights along the walls, giving everything this dim yellow glow. The escalators were shut off. Storefronts were covered with metal gates or plywood. It looked like time had just stopped. My footsteps echoed way louder than they should have. I found the security office without much trouble. It was small, just a desk, a chair, and a wall of monitors showing different camera feeds throughout the mall. Everything looked dead. Empty hallways, dark corners, nothing moving. I sat down, pulled out my phone, and figured the night would just drag on like that. And for a while it did. Around 1:30 a.m., I did my first patrol. I grabbed the flashlight they gave me and walked the main floor. The beam cut through the darkness, bouncing off metal gates and dusty glass. That's when I noticed the first weird thing. One of the stores was open. It was a clothing store near the center of the mall. Every other shop was sealed tight, but this one had its gate lifted just enough for someone to duck under. At first I thought maybe construction workers had been there earlier and forgot to close it. So I walked over. "Hello?" I called out. My voice sounded wrong in the empty space. No answer. I crouched down and looked under the gate. Inside, it was darker than the hallway, but I could see racks of clothes still standing. Everything looked untouched. Then I heard something. A faint movement, like fabric brushing against something. I froze. "Hello?" I said again, louder this time. Nothing. I stood there for a solid minute, debating whether to go inside. Then I remembered what the manager said. No one should be in the building. So I lowered the gate back down as far as it would go and decided I'd report it later. When I got back to the security office, I checked the cameras. The store I'd just been at was in view of one of them, and the gate was completely closed. I stared at the screen, confused. I knew what I saw. The gate had been open. I had literally just pushed it down. But on the camera feed, it looked untouched. Perfectly shut. I rewound the footage, watched myself walk up to the store. Except, I didn't stop. In the recording, I walked right past it. No pause, no crouching, no touching the gate. Just straight down the hallway like nothing was there. I felt this cold drop in my stomach. I replayed it again. Same thing. It didn't make sense. I told myself the cameras were glitchy. Old system. Maybe lagging or skipping frames. That had to be it. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling something was off. Around 3 a.m., things got worse. I was sitting in the office when I heard it. Footsteps. Not echoes of my own. Not distant creaks. Actual steady footsteps. Walking. Somewhere out in the mall. I muted my phone and listened. They were slow, deliberate, and definitely not mine. I turned to the monitors, scanning each camera. Nothing. Every hallway looked empty. But the footsteps kept going. I grabbed the flashlight again. I didn't want to, but I couldn't just ignore it. So I stepped back into the mall. "Hello?" I called. No answer, but the footsteps stopped. That somehow felt worse, like whatever it was heard me. I started walking toward where I thought the sound came from. Each step I took echoed too loudly. The beam of my flashlight shook slightly in my hand. And then I saw it. At the far end of the hallway, just at the edge of the light, something moved. It wasn't clear. Just a shape slipping behind a corner. Too tall to be a kid. Too fast to be someone just wandering around. I stopped dead. "Hey!" I shouted. No response. I didn't chase it. There was no way. Instead, I backed up slowly and made my way to the nearest exit route, just in case. When I got back to the office, I checked the cameras again. I found the hallway where I saw the movement, rewound the footage, and watched. There I was, walking down the hallway, stopping, shining my flashlight forward. But at the end of the hall, there was nothing. No movement, no figure, nothing slipping around the corner, just empty space. That's when I started to panic a little. Because now it wasn't just one weird thing. It was multiple. And none of them made sense. Around 4:15 a.m., I decided I wasn't leaving the office again. I locked the door, sat in the chair, and kept my eyes on the monitors. That's when I noticed something new. One of the cameras wasn't empty anymore. It was the food court camera. Right outside the office, and in the middle of the frame, someone was standing there. I froze. The figure was just there, perfectly still, facing the camera. I slowly turned my head toward the office door, then back to the monitor. The figure hadn't moved. I leaned closer to the screen, trying to make out details. It looked like a person, but something about the posture was wrong, too stiff, too straight, and then it tilted its head. Not naturally, not like a normal person. It was slow, deliberate, and too far. I felt my chest tighten. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just watched. Then the screen flickered, just for a second, and when it came back, the figure was gone. I jumped up and ran to the door, opened it, shined my flashlight into the food court. Empty, completely empty. I checked every angle, every corner. Nothing. When I went back to the monitors, the camera feed was still there, still showing the same area. But now, something else was different. The camera angle had changed. It was slightly lower and tilted, like someone had touched it. I stared at the screen, trying to process that. And that's when I realized the camera wasn't just pointed differently. It was pointing directly at the office door. At me. I don't remember grabbing my things. I don't remember locking up. I just remember leaving. Fast. When I got outside, the sky was just starting to lighten. I called the manager immediately, told him everything. There was a long pause on the phone. Then he said something that made everything worse. "You weren't supposed to go in there alone." I asked him what that meant, and he hesitated before answering. Apparently, the last two people they hired for that same position quit after one night. One of them claimed he saw someone following him through the mall. The other said the cameras didn't match what he was seeing. They thought it was just stress, or people messing around. I told him about the figure, the camera, everything. Another long silence. Then he said, "We've had issues with that food court camera before." I asked what kind of issues, and he said, "It sometimes shows people who aren't there." I didn't go back. I didn't even pick up my final paycheck. A week later, I drove past the mall out of curiosity, just to see if anything had changed. The parking lot was empty, same as before. But as I passed the front entrance, I glanced at the glass doors, and for a split second, I thought I saw someone standing inside, perfectly still, watching me. I didn't stop to check. I just kept driving, and I haven't gone back since.